Hi there, I'm Sean Wheeler. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. I've been in practice for about 11 years now, and I largely work with clients on habit control, relationship issues, quitting smoking, losing weight, getting over stress, things like that. But I wanted to talk today a little bit about something that's far more, let's just say, topical in the media today. Recently we had another Fort Hood shooting, a shooting at a U.S. military base. Perpetrated by somebody who had serious psychological problems. So I just wanted to take a moment to talk about some of the causes of these behaviors, and also a much larger issue actually than these random shootings, which is the vast and amazing number of suicides today among military veterans. The average for 2014 is currently 22 per day, which puts the number at around 2,000 already in just the first 3 months of 2014. When you think about it, it's just an astounding number. Another statistic that really just floors people is realizing that more U.S. military personnel have committed suicide or taken their own lives than have been killed in Iraq and Afghanistan. So it's an issue that we don't really hear a lot about, but when it comes up, everyone seems sort of surprised by it. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, first of all, some of the causes of this particular problem, and then more importantly then, what are some of the solutions that we have that are available that maybe we haven't thought about yet. So first, let's just talk a little bit about what the causes are of this particular problem, which has become an epidemic, and specifically I'm talking about military suicides here. First of all, we have the fact that the military is overstretched. So a lot of active duty military have been on longer tours or even more frequent tours than they would have been in the past. And because of that, the added stress on their family situation, or simply just being out in combat, the physical stress, the emotional stress, the psychological stress is far greater now than it's been for our military probably at any point in the past several decades. So you have this fact compounded with the lack of appropriate care that they are receiving, specifically after they return home to what we'd call civilian life. So the type of psychological care that veterans are receiving is not very it's not the kind of therapy that would actually help these people to resolve or to get over the deeply seated emotional and psychological problems they're developing, which means that for most of them, it's a trip to a psychiatrist, a short chat, and a prescription. So the type of therapy that most of them are receiving is not sufficient. It's not addressing the core causes of their problems, and it's really not helping them to get to where they need to be psychologically or emotionally. Now, add that to the fact that some of these antidepressants, some of these sleep aids, because a great number of them, of course, are having difficulty sleeping, some of the side effects of these drugs actually increase the likelihood of things like aggression or suicidal thoughts or simply violent tendencies. So when the side effects of the drug you're prescribing are actually making it more likely that a good portion of those taking that medication are going to have violent reactions or would be more likely to hurt themselves, you have a serious problem. So what are some of the solutions given the state that we're in? So many veterans are troubled, they're not getting the help that they need, and because of that, occasionally some of them are going off and harming others, but many more are simply choosing to harm or kill themselves every day in this country. What are the solutions? Well, first of all, the obvious solution is let's provide the vets with actual therapy that works, meaning actual therapy and counseling that addresses their needs and their experiences when they were either in combat or on duty or in service. One of the problems currently with this is that a lot of alternative forms of therapy, like hypnotherapy, that can be useful to military veterans is not really available to them. And by not really, what I mean is financially not available to them, specifically because it's not covered by insurance. So one limit to people who would want to see me, for example, would be their budget. They can go and see a psychiatrist, they can go perhaps and see a counselor, a psychologist, and that would be largely or mostly perhaps covered by their insurance program. But if they wanted to see a hypnotherapist, if they wanted to see a chiropractor, if they wanted to see anyone who doesn't practice traditional Western medicine, they're going to be paying for it out of pocket, which for many of them takes it off the table entirely as an option. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I plan to do an end around that particular problem myself toward the end of this video. But first, I want to talk a little bit about what hypnotherapy specifically can do for people who've been in military service, who are suffering from PTSD, stress, nightmares, an extreme amount of anxiety, people that are still dealing with very real symptoms and problems. Well, what can hypnotherapy do? Well, first of all, hypnosis itself can do very little for anybody. Hypnosis in the hands of an operator or a therapist who doesn't have much experience, or who is poorly trained, or simply isn't very good at what he or she does, is not going to produce much benefit at all. But hypnosis as a tool in the hands of an experienced therapist, which I believe myself to be, and I have many colleagues who are similarly trained and experienced, it can do amazing things. Now, very simply put, the first thing that it can do is it can teach these people how to relax and clear their head. Okay, one huge problem is stress. And for anyone, not only a military veteran, but for all of us, stress clouds our thinking. We're never at our worst than when we are stressed, overly tired, sleep deprived, especially insomnia, when we're overly hungry. All of these forms of stress and tension actually cloud our thinking and make it difficult for us to really think through our actions. And that's the type of thinking that tends to lead to things like violence and aggression and suicidal thoughts. So first of all, what we can do is we can give veterans a tool through hypnosis that will help them to calm down. And calming down for all of us is something that can be hugely helpful. Just slow things down and take a step back and look at the situation a bit more logically. That's number one. While you're doing that, you're teaching people how to manage their emotions independently. And what that means is managing their emotions without drugs. And by drugs, I'm not only talking about pharmaceutical drugs or legal drugs, I'm also talking about whether it's marijuana, whether it's excessive alcohol, whether it's simply turning to a substance in a moment as a means of eliminating an unpleasant thought, an unpleasant feeling, or a high degree of uncomfortable stress or anxiety or nervousness. So when you're teaching someone through hypnosis how to relax themselves deeply and how to clear their heads and to think more clearly, you're automatically teaching someone how to be more independent. And what that means is that your emotions and your physical feelings and your thoughts are not controlled by your environment. And that means triggers that can come up around you, be it, I worked with a military veteran at one point for whom any loud noises, a door slamming, a book being slammed on a desk, would trigger a certain emotional reaction of shock due to his experiences when he was in the service. With hypnosis, you can teach someone how to, so you can sort of disconnect some of those associations so that that noise is no longer producing the response of shock as it was in the past. More importantly, though, you're stabilizing their sort of median, just think about stabilizing someone's median stress level. And that means when you're practicing self-hypnosis and you're teaching yourself to relax very deeply, you tend to experience life in a much more calm and, let's just say, muted fashion. What that means is that when the stressors come along, when the problems come along, when there are loud noises, when there is someone shouting at you when you're in traffic or you're struggling through a crowd or something like that, then your stress level may go up a little bit, but because your baseline is much lower, the little bit that it goes up is not something that's unmanageable for you. So we really want to lower that baseline for the veterans so that the normal day-to-day stress, be it family, financial, job difficulties, etc., these things aren't causing them to go over the edge or to push them to that point where their thinking again becomes very cloudy, unclear, and they're taking actions that would hurt themselves or hurt other people. Another thing that it can help with, of course, is insomnia. Now, the veteran that I worked with a number of years ago who wrote a brilliant testimonial on my website, I saw him one time, and a few months after his session, he wrote back and mentioned how he was not only going off of his meds, but also going off of his sleep aids, meaning he was sleeping more peacefully than he'd slept in what he said was years. And that was just due to the practice of listening to a recording that I made for him during the session. So listening to self-hypnosis recordings, meditation, whatever you want to call it, it's putting you in a place that makes it much easier for you to naturally switch off the brain and fall into a deep and restful sleep at night. So That's really just for many people a powerful side effect of doing hypnosis or hypnotherapy for any issue. In fact, I recently put out a survey that I sent out to my former clients asking them about, well, what side effects did you experience from your sessions working with me? And more often than not, one of the boxes they would check would be improved sleep. That was the case for this military vet. It's been the case for a lot of clients that I've worked with. It's a natural side effect of lowering that baseline and calming yourself down and learning to deal with stress a little bit better. So you've got eliminating the dependency on alcohol and drugs to change your emotional state. You've got eliminating the dependency on sleep aids in order to fall asleep. That means you're sleeping better, you awaken feeling more well rested, you're in a better frame of mind, you're again thinking more clearly, making more intelligent judgments, and managing your emotions in a better way. There are other things that you can do in hypnotherapy that are a little bit deeper than that. Really, so far I'm just talking about symptoms. And really, if you have a talented therapist, and again, I believe myself to be one because I get good results with people. If you have a talented therapist who knows how to communicate and ask the right questions, you can get some really exquisite results related to things like guilt. A lot of military veterans, of course, have really serious issues with what they had to do or even with what they were forced to witness while they were in service, whether it was having to kill, or whether it was witnessing deaths, or whether it was torture, or other, or just seeing their buddies get hurt, seeing their comrades get maimed or killed, or there's so many things that they have to go through and experience, and they need someone to talk to about those things, and they need to be able to resolve them. And a talented hypnotherapist can ask the right questions, get to the heart of the issue, and use hypnosis as a tool to solve that issue, to resolve it, and really to provide the individual with peace of mind and closure in a way that will really help them to move forward in their life, to no longer be living in the past, but to be more comfortably adjusting to civilian life, their family, and getting back to some degree of normalcy. So that's one really powerful thing that an experienced therapist using hypnosis as a tool can help a veteran to accomplish. There are a lot of different ways that hypnosis can help. There are a lot of different ways that other forms of therapy can help as well. And really, I think if you ask me why haven't I worked with more veterans, and really I haven't worked with a great number. I mean, one reason certainly is that my services aren't covered by insurance, as are the services of most hypnotherapists. There are some psychiatrists or psychologists who are licensed by the state and who also practice hypnotherapy or hypnosis as a sort of adjunct, or they learned it on the side and occasionally will use it with their patients. My experience is that those who do aren't as skilled with it as would be someone like myself who does it 10, 20 times a week and has been doing so for a long period of time. However, what I'm trying to get at is overall, many vets either can't afford the services of someone like myself, or they really don't even know that hypnotherapy can be helpful to them. So I'm putting out this video in part hoping that it'll catch fire a little bit and that it will get a lot of views, be it on YouTube or elsewhere, so that more vets will learn that this is an option for them, and whether it's something that they have to pay for out of pocket, whether it's something that they can be helped with, or whether their insurance can provide partial coverage for it, they need to know that there are some tools out there that they can get that will help them to address not only the symptoms that they're dealing with respect to stress, PTSD, depression, anxiety, sleeplessness, but also really if they can find a talented hypnotherapist who has some good experience, you can really help to resolve some of these issues that maybe you think can't be resolved, or maybe those who are in despair and who are wondering if they're ever going to get any relief can start to have a little bit of hope that maybe there is a possibility of getting true therapy and real help. So anyone watching this video, if you know a military veteran, or if you happen to be one yourself, it doesn't have to be me, although I would be happy to help anyone. It can be someone in your area. It can be someone that you find through your healthcare network, but seek out someone who can actually talk to you and help you in ways that are practical and meaningful. And that means not necessarily with a prescription, not simply by listening to you talk about your problems, but by providing actual guidance and useful tools that you can begin to implement in order to start making progress. So my contribution beginning today is this. First of all, and I know this is kind of a big step. I know there are a lot of veterans out there. I don't know how many people are going to see this video, but I'd like to offer a complimentary session, one whole session, that's 1 hour session, to any military veteran out there who would like to talk to me via Skype if you're outside of the area of Atlanta, Georgia, or if you live in the state of Georgia or Atlanta and you can travel to see me. You can come to see me in my office for that complimentary session. Just contact me by phone or email, which you can find at heartbreakhypnotist.com, or I'll even put up a little graphic here in the video that you can look at and see. Contact me, let me know what it is that you'd like to accomplish, and we'll take it from there. After that individual session, which of course for most people won't be sufficient to getting you where you need to be, I'd like to offer for the time being and in the indefinite future 50% off my normal rate. So whatever my normal rate is, which you can find it on my website, which may change from time to time depending on the program chosen and how many sessions and so forth. 50% off, and that deal is good for life for whoever decides to come and work with me. So take that into consideration, pass it on to anyone that you know who might qualify or who might be interested. And otherwise, please feel free to spread this video, and I encourage you to, and spread the word. Let's just get help in any way that's possible for all these vets out there, especially those who really at this point in time are feeling hopeless and aren't getting the help that they need. We really need to give back to them, considering the great amount that they have sacrificed for us and for their country. We owe them more. And I'm trying to do my small part, and hopefully those of you who are watching can do yours as well. Thanks again. My name is Sean Wheeler, and we'll see you next time.